utopian dreams of no one left behind. Now let's see what we can do with the very difficult utopian story. All right. Nothing is ever perfect. River said to Dr. Caslin. All right, let me see if I can spell this name correctly. To Dr. Caslin, as he stared out her office window at the blues and purples of the nighttime cityscape. You said that before. His therapist told him. Why do you believe that to be true? Because it is true. My writing, thanks for dropping in. And Tom Duffy, glad you're here, buddy. Hope I have something interesting for you with trying to write a utopian story here. All right. Because it is true. People still suffer depression and anxiety. Families still fall apart. Crimes are still committed. They stared at one another for a long moment. River looked away first and pretended to be interested in the lights outside. At this point, he about had them memorized. Utopian, like Apocalypse. Yeah, I was just talking about that. It's utopian novels or stories tend to be sort of secret dystopian novels because there has to be conflict for there to be a story. In order for there to be conflict in a utopian society, then supposedly there has to be an underclass or someone who's excluded or someone who's oppressed or something along those lines. So you kind of end up with a sci-fi dystopian. The novel Utopia is a difficult one to pattern after for that reason, because of course the author had this agenda where they wanted to show what society could be. And so that for that reason, utopian stories are very, very difficult to write and to really deliver on that concept. So it's kind of an experiment here to challenge myself to create something that would truly fit the utopian story pattern. At this point, he about had them memorized. Staring out windows was sort of a defense mechanism for him. Nothing new out there. Really, nothing new in here either. He had said these same things before in earlier sessions, River was starting to bore himself. Dr. Caslin broke the silence. That was new. Usually she waited on him to initiate, never forcing a solution or belief upon him. It was enough to draw his attention away from the colorful outside. There is therapy available to all who need it. As you know, of course. What else did he bring up? Humanity deals with its flaws, but we have a post-scarcity society, much superior to previous generations. Not because we are better than them, not because we are so much more enlightened, although, okay, let me fix that real quick. Not that we are more enlightened, although we probably, arguably are. But society, as it stands now, does not contribute undue pressure or hardship upon people seeking to better themselves and address their flaws. You also mentioned crime. Were you recently the victim of a crime, River? He rolled his eyes and turned his attention out to the night again. Most people aren't. There is far less of it than any other time in history, and we can address the underlying issues that cause those rare individuals to make those rare destructive choices. We don't perpetuate that behavior or cause its consequences to spread beyond our control. No. Life is not perfect. But we are doing the work to make it the best it can be. So I should just stop feeling bad. Got it, doctor. You know that's not what I'm saying. You are permitted to feel any way you like, and I'm here to help you, to help you feel better. As you are ready. I don't feel better though. I feel out of place in this safe and sterile world. All healing takes time. She paused, but not long enough for him to jump back in with a new complaint. Why do you think the world feels sterile to you? What most people see as perfection, doctor, I see as conformity. I see people falling into pre-made slots for their lives and their future without the variety to really discover who they are. I don't know who I truly am, but this is not it. He waved his hands over his body as if to emphasize his point. He wasn't sure he really understood his point, though. That's why I'm in therapy, right? He thought. Okay. Just a moment. I see the comment there. I was just finishing up my thought here. All right, Tom says, I'm really thinking how to do a utopian story with conflict, maybe conflict in the form of satire. It's a tough one, no pressure. Yeah, I'm not sure it can be done perfectly. My approach is to sort of have a utopian society that allows for human flaws and then has the resources to deal with it. So I'm thinking, I guess, more along the lines of a post-scarcity society, and one that technology has advanced to the point that most needs and wants can be met. Maybe people still have choices, but then, of course, the lack of conflict sometimes can create sort of existential crises in people. So I'm sort of focusing on the conflict within one individual and seeing what that can do. Again, I'm not positive it's going to land perfectly, but I think it's an interesting exploration. The idea of if we supposedly lived in a perfect society, how would people react to that, especially those that kind of have a tendency in them to kind of push back and rebel against the norm. But if the norm really isn't truly oppressing the person, then what does that look like? Would it end in violence? Would something else come along? All right, so I didn't actually get this in italicized the way I meant to. All right, so let's see what we can do with Poor River here, the outlier in a utopian society. You think a little more crime, starvation, or war might spice things up. He narrowed his eyes at her. Are you making fun of me? She gave him a friendly enough smile. Humor can help us deal with some of our personal pressures in life. If the humor is not directed to hurt someone, then I think it's okay. Did I hurt your feelings by somehow making light of them? River. He shook his head. Sometimes it's funny to mock other people. Folks still laugh at that sort of humor. Sure. Testing the edges of appropriateness will always be funny. There is still value in the consent of the audience and the target. Of course, mocking power is a necessary check upon governmental authorities and the risk of corruption sort of speech is protected in our society. Do you think satire might be a good outlet for you, either in the form of comedy or prose? I don't think so. You don't have to know exactly who you are at this age, River. You don't have to have life all figured out, even in your old age. People live longer now, which helps. Not having to worry about your livelihood also gives you the freedom. Hey, Daniel Volpe. Glad to see you here. Not having to worry about your livelihood also gives you the freedom to reinvent yourself at any time. Riverside. Alright, so we'll leave him on that sigh and then drop into the conversation here. Tom says, I had one of those rare moments of waking up in the middle of the night with an idea of writing almost 1,000 words before going back to sleep. That's awesome. Was that in the middle of a work you already had? Was it something new? Right? Is it a novel? Is it a short story? Fill me in there. Volpe is in the house. Wanted to say, I'm glad you're on, Daniel. I wanted to say that I am really excited about the Books of Horror group, more than just like potential promotion down the road. But just, one thing I've done with Twitter, and to a smaller degree with Facebook, is curating my own experiences. I know that there's all this talk about the algorithms and how it pushes you in particular directions, but I still think we have a lot more power to curate our experiences online, even with all the engagement tools that tend to push toward the negative, trying to get us there. Tom says, brand new, more likely short story, although my short stories are usually 5,000 to 8,000 words, so you still got a good 7,000 words to go. It's good. It's good to get excited about something though. But looking at social media on Twitter, I've pushed most of my interaction toward books, and so that's mostly what I see. I also have the power to scroll past things that might be political or controversial or that sort of thing. I've worked really hard to push away from some of the video sites. I still go to them, but for a long time they kept trying to show me videos that would upset me. So like bullying videos and videos of people getting into conflicts in public and stuff like that, which left to my own devices, I'll get wrapped up in those videos. They'll make me emotional. And then of course that means I watch the whole video, and then those video sites show me more. And so some of them I just avoid because that's all they want to show me. And others, I've just scrolled past the videos that are like that don't make me feel better, and have engaged more in like the book videos, the comedy ones, stuff like that. And over time, I've sort of trained the algorithm to go in that direction, even though if I just scrolled mindlessly, I'd probably get pushed toward the negative like most other people. Now, all that to say, the Books of Horror group is unique in the idea that I guess it's because it's been well administered, but everybody just talks about books. So it's mostly readers, but I'm seeing a lot of authors in there that I didn't know were involved. And everybody's kind of engaging on books and legitimate questions about books of whatever type, werewolf books or whatever the person wants, and they are legitimate questions. It's not just an author throwing out a question for fake engagement, which is what a lot of social media has become for authors. And so it's cool to have like actual readers asking actual questions, and then I can throw out books that I know about and other authors that I enjoy that I think need a little more attention. And so by engaging that, it's completely changed the entire landscape of my Facebook. I still have my other friends on there, but I'm seeing a lot of the books of horror people. A lot of them have friended me. It's funny. I tend to kind of be a little picky when I choose friends on Facebook, just to avoid any kind of negativity. So if I see a lot of political posts or, hey, Lindsay, thanks for being here. The group's on Facebook. It's Books of Horror. There may be more than one. I don't think it has a tag name on it. It has about 19,000 people in it. So if you're looking, the one that's like at 19K right now would be the one. I recommend it highly over all the others. Most of them I think are just authors spamming each other, but this has been doing better. It's heavily patrolled by admin and is an excellent group. Happy to have you there. I'm glad to be there too. But again, that's really helped the effort I was already putting into Facebook, which was to kind of push away from some of the negativity. And it's funny, I've gotten a lot of friends out of that group where people have done friend requests, and I can look on their thing and see that they're always talking about books, even off of the Books of Horror group. So I'm like, sounds great. Let's be friends online. Just sent a request through. Very good. Yeah, but it's probably the best group online, and it translates into real life because a bunch of those people showed up to AuthorCon, and I think a lot of the success of that convention needs to be attributed to that particular group. I didn't realize what was going on in the background, but watching it more and more, I think that's the case. It's funny. I was going to say around conventions. Like I said, I'm usually pretty picky about friend requests, not because I don't think someone's a good person or whatever, but just looking down through what they're posting, I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to engage in that, or that's not really going to contribute to what I do. RJ Rolls is the admin and author, great guy. I was next to him the entire AuthorCon convention. I like his wife too. She's a great person as well. But when I'm around a convention, typically I'll get a bunch of friend requests, and around convention time, I'll typically just start approving those friend requests more liberally because it's people that I met that I didn't quite remember their name or whatever. So eventually, some of those people I might have to cut out because they engage in a way that I'm not interested in or whatever. But typically, right around or just after a convention, I'll just start pretty quickly approving people that request through because it's someone that I've met at the convention or engaged, or they pick up a book or that kind of thing. And usually those end up being pretty good folks. But that's kind of been compounded by the fact that I jumped into the Books of Horror group in the middle of that convention after talking to Daniel and Aaron and a couple other folks that were real positive on it. And then, of course, I didn't realize that Books of Horror was next to me at the convention until we mentioned that, and then I looked over and saw the anthologies and realized, oh, this is what that group is. I figured that out now. And so I've gotten the additional requests, so it's a lot heavier than it has been, but I've approved most of them, and they tend to be good quality, like online friends, because they are pretty much focused on books, which is sort of my interest on there too. So I'm very happy about that, and I think it's going to make some changes to how I interact online, and probably some changes to some interactions at actual conventions and stuff. So I'm super excited about that. So I appreciate that, Dano. I think you've enhanced my life by making me aware of all this going on. All right. I'm going to continue on, but everybody feel free anytime in chat. I don't mind stopping. I'm kind of taking my time with these stories today anyway. All right. So Riverside, we got a poor little boy having an existential crisis in the middle of a utopian society. Dr. Caslin turned off her device. River started to get up, thinking that was it. At least it was a fast session, although therapists didn't really stick to an exact hour anymore. But she surprised him again. Why don't we take a little field trip? Alright, scene break. All great stories use proper scene breaks. That's how you can tell when you're dealing with a master of their craft. I'm just saying that. I don't know that I'm proving anything with this. Alright. Daniel Volpe has enhanced my life by having me always stay at a chain hotel during a snowstorm. I think that's a story that needs to be told, Tom. What's going on there? Did you guys get trapped in a hotel somewhere? I'm here to help. What happened, Tom? Did Tom find himself lost in the snow somewhere? Do you tend to go to Oh, my new book is about that. There you go. Oh, okay, I get it now. All right. Always go to a chain hotel because you wrote about a little sketchy motel where something bad happened. Which book is that, Daniel? Go ahead and tell me in the chat. All right, that's funny. Okay, why don't we take a little field trip? Only Psychos. There you go. There's been a lot of buzz about that in all your books, in that Books of Horror group, Volpe. You have a pile of fans, man, and they like that book and they like all your other books too. I see people talking about you all the time in there. I was talking about you in there. I guess you just have a magnetic personality, or maybe you're a great writer. I mean, I guess that's a possibility too, right? I should have gone there first. But you got a lot of attention there. I think it's deserved, but it's really cool. They're reading machines. Yeah, if you get them hooked in, I could tell a bump too. I don't think I got as big of a bump as you did from some of the posts, but I was already having kind of a post convention bump anyway, I think, and then I had several ebook purchases come through. I tend to sell more. I'm just charming. Now I imagine if you shaved your eyebrows. I tend to have more paperback sales on Amazon than I do ebook sales. Because some of the genres I've chosen, some of it's crossover from some of the genres I've chosen to where I have more paperback readers. But that there tends to be two waves whenever I get a bump in sales. So the ebook sales will come in immediately, and then the paperback sales show up a few days later as those purchases start to go out, because they don't show up on my data until they're sent. So I've already seen like the ebook wave on that zombie book and a few other books too, and I think that I'm going to get the paperback wave after that, which tends to be bigger, so that's good. Noted. There you go. Be careful what kind of advice you take from Tom. Be careful what kind of advice you take from any of us. I mean, we all have our flaws there. All right. Okay. The music played from everywhere out of the purposeful darkness around the cavernous room. It wasn't too loud and was only meant for ambiance, but River hated it. He hated everything right now. He hated everything, let's say just then. Alright. Gotta go. Have a good one. Thank you for dropping in, Daniel. I appreciate it. Appreciate you dropping in. Appreciate everything. I've had a great time with you over the past week. He hated everything just then. She led him to the colorful wall where images and shapes danced through the electronic field. People were all smiles as the energy traveled up their arms and they explored all the possibilities afforded to them. They stopped short. Alright, maybe I should change the name of the book back to Light Fantastic, since everybody will be clamoring to find a copy after reading a shout out in the greatest zombie story ever told. I actually changed it. I changed the book. When I was editing, I changed to your new title. So I think the Light Fantastic was what I wrote in the original draft, but I was editing it in I think January and February, and I believe you'd already changed the name. So when I went through to edit, I changed to the new name, I believe. What is the new name of the book, Tom? I believe I made that change though. So the book should be accurate in there. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I believe I switched it over from the Light Fantastic to what you called it. Nice, less work for me. What is the new title? I'm pulling a blank. I have bad memory problems, but what Rough Beast? Yeah, I think I switched that out. So actually, I'm gonna check real quick. Hold on just a second. Let's go to full view so nobody sees my secrets here. Hold on, let me open Ruthless. Okay. Pulling up the edited doc real quick. Find what rough. Yep. Let me switch back to the cutout there. Yep. You see up here, clearing the novels from his face, he tore off a couple covers in the process. In one hand, he held the cover for First Coast Thriller novel by Rose Amelia, and the other he held the crumbled cover for What Rough Beasts by a Tom Duffy. There you go. All right. So I did get that switched out during the editing process. I'm a very thorough editor. I don't catch everything, and unfortunately I've had some trouble with editors in the past, but I do my best to not leave any typos in there, especially continuity, like the existence of a book by Tom Duffy that wasn't actually published in this universe. All right, they stopped short. Let me see what I have here so far as I'm playing around with more than one manuscript there. All right, they stopped short. The doctor smiled in her practiced friendly way. They stopped short. The doctor smiled in her practiced friendly way that River was growing to hate. What are you thinking, River? How I hate your smile, he thought. But he said, alright, let me make this italics while I'm thinking about it. Alright, but he said nothing really. I'm thinking there is nothing here for me. The purpose of this place is purpose itself. People come here to explore, the purpose of this place is purpose itself. People come here to explore, to eliminate possibilities, to narrow down the paths that are right for them. River shook his head. I think there is more going on than that. Tell me, she said. I think people come here to stop thinking. I believe the AIs, the algorithms, and the machines do the thinking for them. You are not the only one who brings up that criticism. It is a valid point of debate. The consensus is that these are tools that work based on what we bring to them. Of course, if you are worried about conformity, I can understand why you have avoided engaging here. Should we try somewhere else? River lacked the purpose, let's say the sense of purpose. The sense of purpose and peace this place was supposed to offer. So having no better direction in mind. River lacked the sense of purpose and peace this place was supposed to offer, so having no better direction in mind, he went along with her to the new location. Then I say the next location. Scene break. Steam rose from pipes around them. River could imagine these dim tunnels being the lairs of monsters who lived below the city. Of course, these tunnels were dry and clean. The lights rose and fell with their passage, not leaving them in any sort of darkness. Isn't it against the rules for us to be down here? River cut his eyes at her. You are leading me into a life of crime. Very funny. You know I got permission before we arrived. Maybe you should be a comedian. You should be in comedy. Yeah. Haha. What's the point of us being down here? Permission or not? You think I should become some sort of troll living below the city? I just want you to see the options some have selected. They reached a railing and looked over. In the well-lit lower depths, a few humans worked in and among the larger robots, handling the pipes and wires down here. I didn't know any people still worked these types of jobs. Is this the secret oppressed class below our supposedly perfect society? part of society too, and live above ground just like the rest of us. They choose to work among the robots in places like this. Some are down here, others still choose to work factory jobs. Many do this work for years, but most move on eventually. Why are you showing me this? To point out that you still have options. People are constantly working on themselves. It's easier now, but it still takes time. They all have their own reasons. When they decide to move on, the robots fill back in as always. You think I need to do some grunt work to deal with my personal demons, Doctor? Now she shrugged. That was so much unlike her. It was more like him. She followed that uncharacteristic gesture by saying, "You have to decide what you need, but you have the right and ability to choose your own tools to do so. You don't have to engage anything that doesn't serve you." There are opportunities beyond the conformity you are trying to avoid. Well, thank you for this, Doctor, but I don't think fitting pipes under the city in the company of robots and other misfits is going to do much for my depression. They aren't misfits, River. They're just people choosing their own paths. If any of them complain, I'll be sure to apologize for what I said. She stared a moment and finally added, I have one more place for us to visit. I have one more place for us to visit, but that's up to you. As always. If you've had enough of my field trip for today, I'll let you take your leave. River was curious. It was a feeling he thought had died within him long ago. So he decided to stay on for the next stop. Scene break. All great stories have scene breaks. Not all my stories have scene breaks, so maybe not all my stories are great. Alright. They emerged from the vehicle upon landing and wound their way down a narrow trail lined on both sides with wild ground vine growth, mosses, and various species of fern grew over the rocks and up the trees. Nature, River said. The final resort of everyone trying to cure depression for, I'll say since time out of mind. All right. And exercise. Don't forget exercise. Maybe you should be in comedy instead, Doctor. We're almost there. They stepped out of the thicker portions of the natural scene. Nature did not vanish, but it did share space with the restored streets and buildings of the ruins of a past city. Let's say robots hovered over statues, walls, and old cars that they cleaned and restored. Of course, the growth had been trimmed back, but not completely. Curated mosses, vines, and trees were allowed to intermix among the abandoned buildings. Are there people working among these robots as well? River asked. Various ones, various sites around the world. Yes, but not this one. We are alone with the caretakers, the natural world, and our past. Is this to show me what I'm missing out on in the cities? Absolutely not. The past is beautiful, and our society, everything we've accomplished, is built upon these foundations from which the first advances were made. Very well. River stared at the ground between his feet. Weren't these places ravaged by war? Certainly, there are sites on the other side of this city that preserve some of that ancient war damage. that what I'm meant to learn today? There's no trick here, River. I thought this might offer an opportunity to step away and think. There's no pressure to follow any path you don't desire. But I have a sense that a lot of what is being offered to you now is coming across as noise. You can't seem to sort it all because it is too much all at once. You can spend time in a place like this. You'll still be part of our society, but maybe you'll get a chance. You'll still be part of our society, but maybe you'll get a chance to think without all the noise. River did think for a moment. He turned his face up into the warm sunshine. All right. I need to mention that the sun is shining here. The sun shined. It would be nice to think without all the noise. That's true. Maybe this is what we all need. The sun shined greenish through the canopy of leaves above. They were on the other side of the world now. Animals filled the trees with their calls and singing. It reminded him a bit of the ambient music at the Opportunity Center, but far less annoying. The animals had their small agendas too, but at least that did not involve him. Say the more distant animal noises drifted out from the thicker woods. What would I do here? Anything you want. anything you need. What if I decide to break things? Well, then we'd enter a different sort of therapy with fewer options for a period of time. River rolled his eyes. So I'd play caretaker, curator for a while. You can, if you want to occupy your time, or you can just explore inside and out for now. I already have a caretaker's apartment set up here for as long as you might want to stay. Or you're free to leave whenever. What are you going to do? Leave you alone for a while, but I'll be there as soon as you are ready to resume. As early as tomorrow, if this doesn't suit you. Riverside, but then said, I might stay a while. Are you going? I'll leave the transport for you where we landed. You can call me if you need something sooner. Okay. Let's see. Okay, he said. He nodded and then repeated. Okay. Dr. Kaslin's hologram split into multiple colors, and then she was gone, leaving River with the city, with the quiet city and the bots. One of them approached, and instead of speaking, it indicated on its screen that it could show him to his quarters. Oh, Starborn Striker, thank you for the raid. Striker raid. Oh my goodness. Thank you for dropping in. I appreciate it. I'm right at the end of a short story where I was trying to capture a utopian theme. Then I'm going to move to some edits on some darker stories that I wrote yesterday. Thank you for dropping in. I appreciate it. If you guys find something interesting, feel free to hang out. If any of you need to head on to other places, I understand. But I really do appreciate the raid. It means a lot for you guys to jump in and give me some time. Bard Owl, thank you for the follow. I hadn't seen you in a Starborn. I hadn't seen you in a while, so I wanted to stop by. Thank you. I did have some health issues that kept me from streaming as much as I liked over a couple weeks, and I was at a convention this past weekend, so that took off the front of or the end of one streaming schedule and the beginning of another. But I'm back at it, so barring any more trouble or maybe a couple more upcoming trips, I should be on pretty regularly. It's good to get back to some conventions this year. So it's been about 2.5 years since I've done anything really in public for a good long time. So it was kind of cool. No, it was not just kind of cool. It was very cool to get back to seeing my other author friends in person and enjoying that. Oh, thank you for the cheer, Bard Owl. I really appreciate that. That means a lot. You could spend your bits anywhere, so it means a lot you dropped them on me. I appreciate that so much. Yeah, so hope you guys enjoy your time, and whenever you need to move on to greener pastures, I understand, and very much appreciate your time here. All right. I'm actually about to put down the last line, I think, and then move to the next story. Right, so, River waved the device off for the time being and decided to do a little exploring. All right.